For weeks, an unidentified murderer has terrorized the community. Authorities admit that little evidence has surfaced, though one survivor, a young boy, has come forward with a chilling account. "I had a nightmare and woke in the middle of the night," the boy recalled. "When I opened my eyes, I noticed my window was open, even though I was sure I had closed it before bed. I got up, shut it, and crawled back under the covers. That's when I felt it, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my skin. In the sliver of light through my curtains, I saw them. Eyes. Not normal eyes. Dark, heavy, rimmed in black. Then came the smile. A wide, horrendous grin that made every hair on my body stand on end. He just stood there, staring. Finally, he spoke. Just 2 words whispered in a voice only a madman could have. 'Go to sleep.' The boy screamed. The figure lunged, a knife flashing in his hand. A struggle broke out until the boy's father burst in with a shotgun. He nearly shot the intruder, but the killer dove aside, hurling his blade into the man's shoulder before fleeing. The boy remembers the sound of glass shattering as the man vanished into the night. 'I'll never forget that face,' the boy said. 'Those eyes, that smile. He'll never leave my head.' Police continue to search for the suspect. Anyone with information is urged to contact authorities immediately. Not long after, Jeff and his family moved into a new neighborhood. His father, Peter, had earned a promotion, and his mother, Margaret, insisted on a fresh beginning in a better home. Jeff and his younger brother, Lou, didn't complain. The house was larger, brighter, and promised a new chapter. As they unpacked, a neighbor introduced herself. "Hello, I'm Barbara. I live across the street," she said warmly. Beside her stood her young son. "And this is Billy." Billy waved shyly before darting back to his yard. Jeff's mother smiled. "I'm Margaret. This is Peter, and these are our boys, Jeff and Lou." Barbara invited them to Billy's upcoming birthday party. Jeff and Lou exchanged looks. They weren't thrilled, but Margaret accepted without hesitation. Later, Jeff confronted his mother. "Why did you say yes?" "I don't want to go to some kid's party." Margaret gave him the look all mothers give when there's no room for argument. "Jeff, we just moved here. We need to show our neighbors we want to be part of the community. We're going, and that's final." Jeff groaned, but knew better than to push further. He stomped upstairs, flopped onto his bed, and stared at the ceiling. That was when it happened again. That strange feeling. Not pain exactly, but something heavy. Something wrong. The next morning, Jeff and Lou grabbed a quick breakfast before heading to the bus stop. Jeff felt that strange sensation again. Heavier now, tugging at him like an invisible thread. He ignored it. They sat on the curb, waiting, when a shadow blurred over them. A skateboarder soared past, landing only inches away. Jeff and Lou jumped back. "Hey, watch it!" Lou snapped. The boy flipped his board into his hand with practiced ease. He wore a brand-name shirt, jeans, and a sneer. Well, well. Fresh meat. 2 more boys appeared behind him. One was rail-thin with a vacant look, the other broad and sluggish, like he hadn't exercised in years. "I'm Randy," the leader said smugly. He pointed at the skinny one. "That's Keith." Then to the heavy one. "And that's Troy." Randy stepped closer. "There's a little fee for new kids in this neighborhood. Call it bus fare, if you catch my drift." Lou stood up, fists clenched. "How about I punch that drift out of your mouth?" But Randy's friends were quicker than expected. Knives gleamed in their hands, sharp and ready. Randy smirked. "I was hoping you'd resist. Guess we'll do this the hard way." He reached into Lou's pocket and snatched his wallet. Jeff felt the burning sensation surge inside him, stronger than ever. His pulse thundered. "Give it back," Jeff growled. Randy slid the wallet into his pocket and pulled out his own knife. "Or what?" Jeff didn't hesitate. His fist shot forward, cracking Randy's nose. Blood spurted as Randy shrieked. Jeff grabbed his wrist and snapped it with a sickening crack, the knife clattering to the ground. Keith and Troy lunged, but Jeff moved like lightning. He threw Randy down, spun, and drove the stolen blade into Keith's arm. Keith collapsed, screaming. Troy charged, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He buried his fist into Troy's gut, hard enough to send him sprawling. The bigger boy gagged, vomiting on the pavement. Lou stood frozen, wide-eyed. "Jeff, how did you—" Before he could finish, the bus appeared at the end of the street. Jeff's instincts screamed to run. If they were caught here, the blame would fall on them. "Move!" Jeff hissed. The brothers bolted. Behind them, the bus screeched to a stop, the driver rushing to the wounded bullies. Jeff and Lou didn't look back until they reached school, hearts pounding. Neither spoke of it, not to anyone. Lou tried to convince himself his brother had simply defended them. But Jeff knew better. That strange feeling, the heat, the strength, the hunger, it hadn't just made him fight, it had made him enjoy it. The next morning, Jeff came downstairs for breakfast, but the strange sensation had only grown worse. It gnawed at him like fire under his skin. He forced himself to ignore it, though Lou watched him closely, wary. By midday, the past caught up with them. A sharp knock rattled the front door. Margaret opened it to find 2 police officers waiting. Their expressions were grim. "Ma'am, we need to speak with your sons," one said. Jeff froze. His mother turned, her face a storm. "Jeff. Lou, come here." Jeff's stomach dropped as the officers explained. Witnesses had seen the fight. 3 boys injured, 2 stabbed, 1 beaten, and the brothers fleeing the scene. Jeff's mother looked horrified. "Tell me this isn't true." Jeff stared at the floor, silent. He could already see it. Lou dragged down with him his parents' disappointment, the shame. He clenched his fists, then spoke. "It was me," he said hoarsely. "Not Lou. I attacked them. He tried to stop me, but I—" Before he could finish, Lou cut him off. "No, it was me." Everyone turned. Lou stood tall, holding a kitchen knife in trembling hands. The officers drew their guns instantly. "Put it down, son," one barked. Lou raised his arm slowly, showing cuts and bruises he'd inflicted on himself. His voice cracked, but his eyes didn't waver. "I fought them. I beat them, not Jeff." Jeff's heart shattered. "No! He's lying. I did it, not him." Tears burned his face, but his mother placed a firm hand on Jeff's shoulder, shaking her head. "Stop, Jeff. We know it was Lou." The officers moved quickly, disarming Lou and leading him toward the patrol car. Jeff screamed, struggling against his mother's grip. "It was me. Please take me instead. Lou, tell them the truth." Lou glanced back, forcing a small, pained smile. "Don't worry, bro. I've got this." And then he was gone. The cruiser disappeared down the street, leaving Jeff in the driveway, sobbing into his hands. When his father returned home, Margaret told him everything. He walked past Jeff without a word, his face pale with shock. That night, the house was suffocatingly quiet. Jeff lay awake, drowning in guilt. His brother was locked away for crimes he didn't commit, crimes that belonged to him. The fire inside Jeff didn't fade, it smoldered. 2 days passed with no word from Lou. The house felt hollow, filled only with silence and Jeff's gnawing guilt. Then Saturday came. Margaret swept into Jeff's room with a bright, forced smile. "Get up, Jeff. Today's Billy's birthday party." Jeff groaned. "You can't be serious. After everything." "This will be good for you," she cut in. "For all of us. We need a distraction." Jeff wanted to argue, but the set look in her eyes told him it was useless. With a sigh, he pulled on whatever clothes he could find. By afternoon, the family crossed the street. Barbara greeted them warmly, ushering them inside. Adults gathered in the living room, overdressed and chattering, while children played in the backyard in cowboy hats with plastic guns. "Go join the kids, Jeff," Barbara encouraged. Jeff stepped into the yard, already out of place. A younger boy shoved a toy gun into his hand. "Want to play?" Jeff frowned. "I'm too old for this." "Please," the boy begged, eyes wide. With a reluctant sigh, Jeff put on the paper cowboy hat and joined in. At first it felt ridiculous, but soon, against his will, he found himself laughing for the first time since Lou had been taken away. For a moment, the weight lifted. That was when the sound came. The sharp clatter of wheels on pavement, the grind of skateboards against the fence. Jeff froze. Over the wooden boards vaulted Randy, Keith, and Troy, their eyes locked on him. Randy's nose was still crooked, his face swollen from the earlier fight. Hatred burned in his stare. "Well, well," Randy sneered. "Miss me, Jeff?" Jeff's grip on the toy gun tightened. "We're done." "Stay away." Randy grinned, a knife flashing in his hand. "Done." "No, Jeff. We're just getting started." In an instant, the yard erupted. Randy lunged, slamming Jeff to the ground. Fists cracked against bone. Jeff headbutted him and shoved him off, blood streaming from his nose. Children screamed. Parents poured into the yard, panicked. Troy and Keith reached into their pockets, not for knives this time, but for pistols. The crowd shrieked, scattering. "No one moves," Keith snarled, waving his weapon. Jeff staggered to his feet, but Randy was faster. The blade sank into Jeff's shoulder, hot pain tearing through him. He collapsed, coughing blood, while Randy kicked him again and again. "Fight back," Randy jeered, dragging him into the kitchen. Bottles shattered, glass cutting into Jeff's skin. Randy smashed a vodka bottle over his head, liquor and blood mingling. "Come on, Jeff," Randy screamed, eyes wild. "Where's that fight from before? Or are you just weak? Your brother rots in juvie because of me, and you can't even stop me." Jeff's body trembled. Pain blurred into something else. That feeling, the one that had haunted him for weeks, ignited like fire in his veins. He stood, his lips peeled into a smile, blood dripping down his face. Randy froze. "Finally," he whispered. "Finally you stand." But it was already too late. Something inside Jeff had snapped. The rational part of him, the part that cared, that hesitated, that held back, was gone. All that remained was the hunger. Jeff launched himself at Randy, fueled by something beyond rage. his fists hammered down, each strike heavier, bloodier. Randy screamed, but Jeff didn't stop. He could feel the boy's heart stutter beneath his blows, feel ribs give way. By the time Randy went still, the yard was silent. Everyone was watching. Parents, children, all frozen in terror as Jeff stood over Randy's body, his face split into a manic grin. But it wasn't over. Keith and Troy broke from their shock, raising their pistols. Muzzles flashed, bullets splintered wood. Jeff dove for cover, sprinting up the stairs into the house. The brothers followed, knives now in their hands after their guns clicked empty. Jeff ducked into the bathroom. His eyes darted to a towel rack. He ripped it from the wall just as Troy swung. The metal rod cracked across Troy's face, dropping him in a heap. Keith lunged, blade slashing Jeff's shoulder. The two grappled, smashing against shelves. A bottle toppled, drenching them both in bleach. The chemical burned Jeff's skin, his eyes, his lungs. He screamed, blinded. Keith laughed through, his own coughing fit, flicking a lighter to life. "You're finished." The flame fell. The world ignited. Bleach and vodka soaked into Jeff's clothes, and the fire spread faster than he could react. Flames devoured him, blackening his skin, searing his nerves raw. He stumbled through the hall, a walking inferno, shrieking in agony. Children sobbed, adults screamed, and then everything went black. Jeff woke days later in a hospital bed, wrapped in bandages from head to toe. His throat was dry, his body stiff. He tried to move, but tubes tethered him down. A nurse hurried in. "Don't strain yourself. You've been through a lot." Jeff said nothing. He couldn't. Hours passed before his mother arrived. She held his hand, tears streaking her face. "Oh, Jeff. Honey, you're alive. And good news. The police cleared your brother. Lou's coming home. You'll see him soon." The words barely reached him. His mind felt distant, floating. Finally, the day came when the bandages came off. His family gathered, tense, hopeful. The doctor's hands were steady as he unwrapped the layers of gauze. Gasps filled the room when the final strip fell. Margaret screamed. Peter turned pale. Lou's eyes went wide. Jeff stumbled to a mirror. What stared back was not the boy he had been. His skin was chalk white, stretched tight. His lips were a raw, blood-red slash. His hair, singed black, clung in uneven tufts. His face had hardened into something inhuman, a permanent mask of horror. Jeff touched the ruined skin, then began to laugh. Low at first, then uncontrollable. His left eye twitched, his grin widening into madness. "It's perfect." The doctor stammered something about painkillers, about temporary side effects. Margaret clutched her husband's arm, shaking. But Jeff barely heard them. His gaze stayed fixed on the mirror, on the thing he had become. For the first time in his life, Jeff felt whole. That night, the house was silent. Jeff lay awake, staring at the ceiling, trembling with energy he couldn't contain. His thoughts spun like wildfire, circling the same truth. The old Jeff was gone. In the bathroom, he found a knife. Slowly, deliberately, he pressed the blade into his own cheeks, dragging deep, curved lines until blood welled up. The pain was nothing. He laughed through it, shaping his flesh into a permanent grin. When his mother heard the sound and came to check, the sight stopped her cold. "Jeff. Oh God, Jeff. What have you done?" He turned toward her, blood dripping, eyes wide and rimmed in black. I couldn't stop smiling, Mom. It hurt. But now I'll never have to stop. His eyes burned like pits of darkness. Aren't I beautiful? Margaret backed away, trembling. Stay here, sweetheart. I'll get your father. But Jeff was already following, the knife glinting in his hand. Mommy, you lied. Her scream tore through the night. Peter barely stirred before Jeff's shadow fell across the doorway. In moments, silence returned. Lou awoke to a weight pressing on his chest. A hand clamped over his mouth, cutting off his breath. His eyes fluttered open, and there was Jeff, his twisted grin glowing in the darkness. The knife hovered inches above his heart. Lou thrashed, trying to scream, but Jeff leaned close, his voice low and venomous. Shh, just go to sleep. And with that, Jeff was no longer a boy, no longer a victim, no longer human. He had become something else, the thing people whispered about, the thing that would never leave the shadows, the thing with the smile.